No one ever pronounces my long surname as good as Jacopo. So, those of us who are gathered here, those of us who deeply care about liberty, we should be proud. We should be proud because our ideas, the ideas of freedom, the ideas of individual rights, the ideas of capitalism, have given humanity its best days. Our ideas, carried by brave men and brave women, ended slavery. How many movements, how many ideologies can have the honor to say our ideas ended the most despicable institution in history? Our ideas have brought the Industrial Revolution and what Deirdre McCloskey called the Great Enrichment. Our ideas have made the world a better place. And yet there is one thing that should bother us. There is one thing that, if we really care about liberty, should keep us up at night. And this is the fact that although we have the best ideas, our ideas are not winning out there. Our ideas are a minority, are minoritarian. And of course, I know that it's minorities that change history, but we're too much of a minority. So why is it so? Why is it that our ideas are not lighting a fire, a spark, to the hearts of more people, that spark that lights in our fire? What is the ingredient that the liberty movement is missing to become bigger? What is the ingredient that we are missing so that our message and our worldview will become more exciting, more inspiring, and more persuasive? So, in order to identify this missing ingredient, what we can do is, let us examine some of the most common defenses of liberty, and let us see why they are not so effective in persuading people, in inspiring people about the virtue of freedom. So let us start with what I call the Francis Fukuyama defense of freedom. This is because this is the defense of liberty that Francis Fukuyama presents in his last book. And it goes something like this. He says, look, no system and no set of ideas is perfect. Capitalism has its problems, socialism has its problems, socialism has more problems than capitalism, but it has been proven that, generally, capitalism is better when dealing with the complexities of modern life. Therefore, we need some level of liberty, but not too much. We shouldn't take it to extremes. Now, is this an inspiring message? Is this an exciting message? Imagine going to a young idealistic person and telling them, come with us, we are centrist, but we have killed fewer people than Stalin. There's nothing there. There's no idealism there. There is no moral excitement there. So this, quote, pragmatist defense of freedom, I don't think it works. Now let's see another defense of freedom. It's a defense of freedom and capitalism that claims, rightly so, that capitalism is the best system when it comes to alleviating poverty. That capitalism is the best system in helping the poor and in helping those in need. Now, it's perfectly true that indeed capitalism has achieved this, and again, we should be proud about that. And as decent human beings, we should never want to see anyone suffering. But here's the problem. If we make our flag that capitalism is good because it can serve the poor in a better way than socialism, then this movement can soon turn against us. This movement can get a more insidious twist. And the twist can be that then the role of the producers out there, the role of the capitalists, is to, quote, serve society. But then this means that capitalism and property rights and all the things that capitalism depends on are not rights, they are conditional privileges. As long as the rich serve quote, the community or serve the poor, we might let them be. But at the moment they stop doing so, then we have a claim to make. It's this thing that we hear so often in the media and in the political discourse that really drives me nuts, which says, should we allow billionaires to exist? I mean, who is we? And what does it mean to allow? How can this fly? Well, here's how it can fly. It can fly because we have accepted that they are the ones that, because they have more, they owe to us. So the we are the ones who have less, and therefore we have a claim on their productivity, on their creativity. I really saw the ineffectiveness of this defense of capitalism some years ago. I was in an academic conference in Berkeley, so as you can imagine, everyone was a leftist. And after the conference, there was this drink reception. And this leftist university professor, we were in this hill. On the one side, there was Silicon Valley, and on the other side was San Francisco and Oakland. And this leftist professor made this toast, and he said, it's a shame that all these people over there at Silicon Valley have so much, whereas all these people over there in Oakland and in San Francisco live in tents and live in poverty. Now try to follow what is the logical conclusion of this view if we accept it as valid. The logical conclusion is that unless and until every single person with a meth problem in a tent city finds a house, then all the producers in Silicon Valley should not be left in peace. Steve Jobs should not be proud about giving us the iPhone or the Mac because someone, somewhere, is in need. And somehow, it's Steve Jobs' work and his job to fix it. So be very careful, because once our claim is, I have a duty to help others, then of course the next step is, therefore, others have a right to my help. And this is how you see statism and authoritarianism sneaking in. It's like we're just helping you here do your duty. We're just making sure here that you are a good person and that you are a good serviceman of others around you. And also, guys, let's be honest. We're never going to appease the left and to persuade them that we are better than them in alleviating poverty for the poor, although we are. I mean, see how they treat Mr. Beast. You know Mr. Beast, right? He's the most famous YouTuber, popular YouTuber. Last time I checked, he had something like 50 million followers. So if you watch Mr. Beast, he's engaged in these impressive acts of generosity. He goes to a restaurant and he tips with a nugget of gold. Or someone brings him a pizza and says, oh, thank you, you look like a nice guy, take this house. Or he builds water wells in Africa. Or he's funding the eye operation of hundreds of people. Like he's doing what back in the day we'd consider a miracle, giving the sight back to people. So if indeed the left care about helping the poor and alleviating those in need, how would we expect that they would treat Mr. Beast? They would say at least, good job. Or at least, do your thing and we're going to leave you alone. Instead, of course, they don't do that. They attack him. Google Mr. Beast selfishness or Mr. Beast capitalism or Mr. Beast hypocrisy. You will see tens of articles claiming that Mr. Beast is not a role model because sure, he helped some people, but he's still rich. He still has a lot of money. He gets likes for helping these people. But wait a minute, dear leftists. If you're really about helping people, what's the problem that Mr. Beast also benefits from this? But here's the secret. They don't care about helping the poor. They just care about hurting the rich. And here's the proof. Recently, in Jacobin, the magazine of the leftists, there was an article that said we should tax the charitable contributions of people like Bill and Melinda Gates, who give some billions every year to generous charities. Now follow the logic. What will happen if you tax charity? I mean, you know economics. We're going to get less charity. No one is going to benefit from that. The poor are not going to benefit from that. But Bill Gates is going to suffer from that. And that's what they're after. So this morality, the morality of quote-unquote altruism, the morality of the left, is a useless morality. Actually, no. It's an evil morality. It's a morality from which no one benefits, and it's a morality which is only geared towards suffering, not geared towards freedom. So let's be very careful, because when we try to use the moral message of the left and the moral message of the socialism, but just try to do it by other means, if people are really persuaded that socialists are the good guys, they're going to go to them. They're not going to come to us. So this borrowed morality of the left is not a good way to defend freedom. Here's a third defense of freedom, the ones which I find much better, but still has a problem. It's what I call the reverse hockey stick defense. The defense of freedom that says that with freedom and capitalism, everyone becomes richer. With freedom and capitalism, GDP goes up. And now, among people like me and you, this totally makes sense. And we should be like, yeah, this is great. But here's the problem. What if having stuff and owning stuff is not something good? For example, for radical environmentalists, wealth and production and creating stuff is not something good. Their moral ideal is a nature which is touched as little as possible by human beings. Therefore, a high GDP and wealth is not something good. Or think about the egalitarians, the people who read Thomas Piketty and who think that the biggest problem in the world is income inequality. They're not going to be moved by the fact that we all become richer, because they will say, sure, Nikos will become slightly richer, but LeBron James and Cristiano Ronaldo will going to become massively richer, and therefore the gap will grow. So before we can defend capitalism and freedom as good, and before we can defend the results that they bring to the world as good, first we need to define what is the good. This is what makes a movement appealing, when people see it as not just something that works, but as something that is good, morally virtuous. And now we're getting close to the missing ingredient in the fight for freedom. This missing ingredient lies behind the question, why do we need freedom? Why do we need freedom? Not in the abstract, very, very practically. Why do we need freedom? Well, I need freedom in order to do the things that I want in life. And so do you. I need freedom in order to pursue my dreams. And so do you. For example, again, in very practical terms, I need freedom because I want to be able to marry whomever I want, man or woman. We need freedom because we need to unlock the secrets of the universe without the fear of persecution, for example, that Galileo faced. You need freedom because maybe you have this opera or this play inside you, this symphony inside you, and you need to be free to produce it. We need freedom in order to discover what will make our lives meaningful. We need freedom to think about it. We need the freedom to act on it and to pursue it. And also we need freedom to enjoy the results of it. In other words, freedom is good if and only if the pursuit of our happiness is good. The pursuit of my happiness is good, and the pursuit of your happiness is good. But in other words, freedom is good only if the pursuit of self-interest is good. Which is another way of saying, freedom matters only if your life matters. I need to be free in order to be self-interested, to live a fulfilling life. And the problem is that we have been persuaded that proudly saying, I want to be happy and my life is mine, is going to make us a bad person. That being self-interested is going to make us a bad person. How? What exactly is bad? Can someone explain to me? Living your life as yourself is bad. Why? What type of intellectual blackmail is it? Going after your dreams is bad. Living your life as yourself is bad. But of course, they persuaded us that, yeah, it is, and therefore, we are afraid to go there. Oh, but they'll say, yes, but if you go after your own happiness and if you're self-interested, what about other people? What about love and kindness and benevolence? And I say, what a ridiculous dichotomy. Isn't it to your best interest, in order to live a good life, to have a thriving romantic life, to have good friends, to be part of good communities, to be kind, and to live in a world where other people are also kind? So there is zero contradiction between going after your self-interest, which means trying to be happy, and being kind and loving and benevolent. And anyone who tells you that going after your self-interest is going to make you a bad person is either confused and ignorant, in which case, okay, there is some hope, or they want something from you. They want something very, very ugly from you. You know who thinks that going after your self-interest is bad? Vladimir Putin. Putin says, how dare you care about your life and not about what Mother Russia needs? The mullahs in Iran tell you, I don't care about what are your dreams and your aspiration. You should live for our dogma. Closer at home, the politicians are telling us, don't think about your self-interest. Give 50 or 60% of your money for, quote, the common good. And of course, if you have accepted that others have a claim on your life and your time, 20% claim on your life and your time, why not 50%? Why not 80%? Why not 99%? After all, you've agreed on the fundamental. Others have a claim on your life. So today I've got news for you. Putin hasn't got a claim on your life. God, whichever God, hasn't got a claim on your life. Society hasn't got a claim on your life. 8 billion people out there haven't got a claim on your life. Polar bears don't have a claim on your life. Unless and until we are ready to proudly shout from the rooftops that my life is mine and my happiness is a sacred calling, is something very important. Unless and until we are ready to shout that, we are not going to have freedom. Unless and until we can proudly shout, my life is mine, we are going to be victims for the next authoritarian who will want to sacrifice, quote, to sacrifice us for something bigger than ourselves. But more important than that, unless and until we can shout from the rooftop that my life matters and my life is mine, then we're not going to live our lives as ourselves. Then you live someone else's life, based on their wants, based on their needs, based on their agenda. And then it's not your life anymore. And then you don't need freedom anymore. So what's the missing ingredient in the fight for freedom? The missing ingredient in the fight for freedom is a radical new morality, a morality which is compatible with freedom. And it's the morality that Ayn Rand called rational self-interest, which sounds like, oh, what's that? It's simple. It means it's your life, and your happiness is a very worthy pursuit. It just means figure out what you want in life, figure out what is good for you, and then get after it. It means just be rational, be productive, create things, and then enjoy, be happy. It's a most humane morality, a most humane morality. And this is why it fits like a glove to the most humane political ideals of all time, to freedom and to capitalism. So here's to freedom, and here's to capitalism, which is another way of saying, here's to you pursuing your dreams, and here's to you living your best life. Thank you.